Good evening, everyone. Let's have a chat, shall we? Let's talk about Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy. Things are crazy out there, to say the least. And, of course, we're talking about cardboard game that people should enjoy playing, not the real horrors and uncertainties of the world. This is a good escape from that. But right now, there's so much insanity going on. Volatile prices, some people unable to get what they want, other stuff coming in just fine. It's going to be a little bit of a different video today. We're not going to open anything. We do have a nice pre-release sealed box here, but we'll get to that later. I want to talk a little bit about how we got to this point from my perspective, because I am not a longtime Magic collector, player, scalper, hustler, anything. I got back into Magic because I missed it. And then when I found out that Final Fantasy was coming out, I was like, well, I picked a great time to get back into it. But I knew in my heart of hearts, knowing nothing about markets, knowing nothing about how much, all these Universes Beyond things were costing on the secondary market, that I'm not going to say that I knew it was going to be the biggest Magic set of all time, sales-wise, but I'm not surprised at all. And I'll tell you why. 10 days prior to the email that Wizards sent out about the Final Fantasy line being up for pre-order, I was at a Final Fantasy Rebirth Orchestra concert. It was an awesome concert. It was a lot of fun. But there was something that went on at that concert that really, in real time, in real life, illustrated a point to me. So let me rewind a little bit farther. If you've ever ordered anything from Square Enix on their website, you know that even prior to them canceling or holding or suspending, delaying, whatever the word is, pre-orders right now, that things were not always, you would pay for something that might not ship for months. I'm in that situation right now myself with some things. It's not a big deal. It happens all the time. I'll either get my money back or I'll get what I ordered. It's not the end of my life, whatever happens. But it's not always a straightforward thing. It's not like a lot of retailers where they'll charge you when the item ships or when you're actually about to receive something. They just straight up charge you and then you wait to get stuff. And the prices on Square Enix's website are not cheap. They don't often put things on sale. Certainly not like they did during the pandemic. And they charge a lot of shipping for stuff, no matter what it is. And so you never get what I would say would be a deal from Square on any merchandise. They know what people are going to pay for it. Now, it's interesting because over in Japan, stuff that will come out over there because it's much more common, and that's where a lot of it is produced. That stuff, if you get on other websites from people who sell things in Japan, and especially with the exchange rate, such as it is right now and as it has been for a while this year, you can get some of these things sometimes very cheap. Sometimes you can get vintage. I hesitate to say vintage because we're talking, almost not quite 30-year-old stuff, but you can get some vintage Final Fantasy stuff, Square stuff. Doesn't just have to be Final Fantasy. You can get anything produced in Japan cheaper than you could get it from a seller over here sometimes. But here in the States, it's a different story. You pay a premium for this stuff. That just comes with the territory. And so at this concert in early February, there was some merch to be sold at this orchestra concert, which I thought was interesting. And it wasn't just stuff related to the orchestra. It wasn't just recordings. It wasn't just vinyl, although they did have those things. It wasn't just concert programs, which I have one somewhere around here. I can't lay hands on it at the moment in the midst of all this junk, but they were also selling a lot of stuff that I had seen on the Square Enix website. And I won't swear to it, but because I visit that site fairly frequently just to see what's on there, I felt like I was seeing things that I'd seen on the website, and I thought I was seeing them a little marked up. And, the concert tickets weren't cheap. They certainly weren't insane, but I wasn't sitting in the front row of the orchestra pit or anything like that either. And the theater, which was a big theater in a major U.S. city, was packed. It may have even been sold out. I don't know. But when we came in, and we were not far back in the line when it started, when they opened the doors about an hour prior to the show, it's hard to explain without a diagram, but the line for that merch table went through a maze like you'd see at an airport security check-in, and then went up and around out the doors of the lobby into the area between the lobby and the seating of the back row of the lower level of the theater and back into the lobby. It was huge. And there were people still in that line an hour later. That line was still out those doors between the lobby and the theater when the show started. And when the show hit intermission, that line reappeared. And the prices for stuff were not cheap, and the prices for things did not deter anybody from buying stuff. And I knew in that moment that I was not a deep pockets Final Fantasy fan, and I was not nearly as big of a consumer of Final Fantasy stuff as I thought I was. Much as I love the game series, much as I love a lot of the, junk that I've bought Final Fantasy related over the years, it cannot compare with the rabid consumerism and fandom that I saw at this concert. And so 10 days later, roughly, when I got that email, I was actually sitting on the floor in my living room wrapping up some Rebirth trophies on PlayStation. I got that email, paused my game, went through and ordered some stuff because I knew I wanted some. And I knew that if I didn't pre-order it, there was a huge fan base out there that was going to buy it. Not necessarily Magic players either. Magic players were actually the thing I was least concerned about, because as I had been getting back into Magic, and this was about a month roughly before I started, maybe a month and a half before I started the channel, I'd already seen all the chatter. I'd already seen all the opinions on YouTube, on Reddit, on, online about Universes Beyond not being pure Magic and blah, blah, blah. And so my take on it was that the people that were going to buy Final Fantasy specifically were probably people that weren't even interested maybe in playing. I mean, they might play a pre-release. I still think that eventually some of this stuff, Magic, Lord of the Rings especially, sorry, when I said Magic, I meant Final Fantasy Magic, Lord of the Rings Magic. I still think some of these things are going to become kind of their own cult format almost, where you'll just play Lord of the Rings Magic, or you'll just play Final Fantasy Magic. And that may just be a kitchen table thing that goes on. It probably won't be an official sanctioned event, but I digress. My point is, obviously, we all know the point of Universes Beyond is to sell this to people other than just the people that are going to show up every 6 weeks or 2 months for whatever the new set is. This is for people that want Final Fantasy, not necessarily people that play Magic. And so I knew that if I wanted any of it, I needed to A, order it when it came out, and B, probably cast the net kind of wide. Because even though it was going to be a licensed release and they were going to, they being Wizards, was going to make as much of this as they could, to sell as much of it as they could, it's still going to be a limited supply compared to the demand. And that's all, played out even more than I thought was possible. So all that to say, we've seen the prices of the collector boosters going sky high. The collector commander decks especially just shooting up there, the play boxes climbing, and even these yesterday being Monday, I saw one of these on TCG Player. I think the lowest it was selling for was like $92. Now it's back down into the 60s or high 60s maybe. but it's not, $45 at the local game store. However, stuff is coming in. People are getting stuff. Obviously, we've seen collector boxes being opened online, pre-release boxes. I saw plenty of people picking up their commander decks whenever Dr. X and I showed up for the pre-release on Friday. And other than the fact that it's not yet Friday the 13th, and the set hasn't officially launched, so I haven't seen anything out and about, I've been receiving this in the mail. I've been getting shipping notifications that stuff is on the way, and my fingers crossed, it looks like everything that I ordered is going to show up. Now, probably a small difference between me and many other people who ordered this. Again, I got in that line at that concert because I was interested in seeing what they had up there. There wasn't really any way to look up what they were selling until you got in the line and see what, you also couldn't really see what the prices were until you got in the line and scanned the QR code and all that stuff while you were waiting, which was a great idea. But I was like, oh, maybe I'll get a concert program or something. I didn't need a light up Buster Sword. I didn't need a stuffed Cactar, which none of those things mattered because they were all long gone by the time I got there anyway. But my point is, there were people that dropped some serious coin on that thing, and that's not a judgment. Whatever people choose to do with their money is their choice. For me, for this stuff, if I had known about the serialized chocobos back when I was pre-ordering a collector box, would I have pre-ordered another one? I don't know. I tend to think with this stuff, one is enough. Now, I did order, I think, close to one. I think I've got one of every individual item coming except those big box retailer Omega booster, where it's just the one collector booster in a big ass box to anti-theft protection or whatever they think that is. But I don't think I need more than that. I probably don't need all of that. I mean, realistically, I can only play with one commander deck at a time, right? Do I really need all four of them? And I didn't order the collector commanders. I just didn't really see a point. If the difference was literally paying double for a surge foil of a card, I don't need to get every card. I can live without that. I just wanted to enjoy as much of it as I could, knowing that, there was always a chance some of that stuff wasn't going to show up. And as the prices went up, I kind of banked on the fact that, okay, I locked in all of this stuff at the MSRP, the suggested pre-order price. And as the stuff climbed and doubled and tripled, I figured, okay, some of the resellers and places that I got this stuff from, probably none of the LGSs, but, the big boxes or the people selling through the big boxes were the game stores that only operate online, who I don't know anything about, that I bought some stuff from. They're probably going to, refund me my money, repost this thing, sell it for twice as much as I was going to buy it for in a second. No worries at all. And I can be mad about that, but I can't really blame them. The way that this thing has exploded and continues to be held in such high regard as far as value goes, I really can't blame anybody for trying to make money off of it, much as I hate that mentality. Again, I ordered one of everything. I ordered this before I thought I was going to play in a pre-release and ended up playing in the pre-release. So yes, technically I went back on my word and I've got 2 pre-release boxes. So sue me. I'm sure there's more out there. As a matter of fact, I know there's cases of them out there right now. And looks like commander decks are on the way. Hopefully the play booster box is on the way. That's the only thing I haven't heard precisely about. Collector booster is secured. Everything is, everything that I wanted, it looks like I'm going to get for the most part. I'm very happy about that. And I hope that that's the case for most people, because I've been through this before with other things, and especially all year. I don't remember when that Costco Pokemon, that infamous video came out. I feel like it was January, but it could have been last year. I feel like it's not just Pokemon. It happened with the PlayStation 5, so we all remember. It's happened with other stuff in the past. Dr. X and I were talking about some people we used to know did that with PlayStation 3s. Scalper's going to scalp. There's not much we can do to stop it, unfortunately. We as in the consumers, it's kind of up to the companies producing the stuff, and even them, I don't know how much they can really do to stop it. But the secret Lairs thing yesterday was a little, no, I'm not going to say a little. It was extremely irritating to many people. I've never dealt with secret Lairs before. I've never really felt inclined to. There hasn't been anything until Final Fantasy, and actually that Frazetta stuff that came out too really caught my eye or my interest, that I would want to pay that much just for, basically nice looking cards. And I've heard that, I've heard that some of them are kind of disappointing to people, either in terms of quality of the foil or the experience of buying it. And knowing what the prices were, knowing they were basically reskins of cards that already exist, albeit with cool Final Fantasy art on them. I mean, that's part of the reason I'm here with this stuff now. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to be sitting at a computer all day anyway. I might as well pop in there, see if I can get one. If they aren't already immediately gone when the sale opens at 9 Pacific, right? So I hopped in there, I don't know, half an hour early, watched the little timers tick down, kind of looked through everything, thinking about what I wanted, and figured, all right, let's go for it. Let's try and get some. I didn't know anything about the now well publicized exploit of putting something different in your cart to kind of skip the line or anything like that. Like I said, no experience with secret Lairs. I just stupidly wanted to buy a product that a company was selling and knew that it was probably going to be difficult to obtain, but I was in the right place at the right time, or so I thought. Clicked add to cart, went to go buy it, and 5 hours later, I was still in that queue with the little walking figure taunting me as the messages updated and everything sold out. I'm not going to sit here and go through the whole entitled thing that I've been hearing kind of since the prices started to go up on this stuff. And I push back against it a little bit because people, Magic is where you can't even play it anymore. People can't even afford to play Magic. It's not nearly that expensive, first of all. And yeah, this does cost more because they paid for a license, and that costs Wizards a little bit of money. And obviously, they're a for-profit company owned by Hasbro, which is hemorrhaging money. They need a hit. And, I don't know if this saved anybody's job, but as far as people on a factory floor, I hope it did. I hope it helped. I hope it staved off the inevitable a little while longer, because Lord knows they're not going to do it with the toy department at Hasbro. Sorry, I digress again. My point being that if this stuff is a priority to you, if this is your number one hobby, then you probably make some room for it in your budget. You probably do some budgeting with your discretionary income to obtain it. And if it's not that big a deal to you, then it's not a big deal if you can't afford it, right? Because as I've said before on here, if you think it's too high, that's one thing. But if somebody else thinks that it's worth them spending the money on and they buy it, well, they just moved the meter. And as long as somebody's going to buy it, people are going to continue to sell it for that price and try to get a little bit more out of it every time. Try and jack up the price a little more. That's just how it works. And so I'm not going to sit here and Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast doesn't even care. They don't even care about their fans. They don't even care about the people who play the game. They had an X amount of product. They have some system that they seem to think works for selling it. I disagree. My experience, saying that, your wait is more than an hour, and my wait was over 4 hours, and I didn't 5 hours, and I didn't even get into the cart to buy anything, is I don't know. It felt like there was a carrot being dangled in front of me that I had no chance of ever obtaining. So if you did get it, and you're somebody who's actually either gonna, I don't know if you even play with secret Lairs, but if you're gonna play with them or just display them or collect them, whatever. I'm very happy that you got there. Just like I'm happy for all the people who are going to pull a golden chocobo, man, because what a great feeling that's got to be. Now, and I'm going to use some language. So the 4 of you who are subscribed to the channel, close your ears. YouTube, close your ears. If you're a piece of shit scalper, if you like this guy that I saw at Walmart about a month ago, I was at the self-checkout, which just so happened to be on the other side of a low shelf where all the card stuff is. Just right on the other side, the back side of this machine I was checking out at. And I saw a guy, probably older than me, definitely middle-aged. He had a stack in his hand of every single Crown Zenith booster, I think it was. I don't know the Pokemon stuff that well. Looked like Crown Zenith in his hand. And he was counting them, I guess doing the mental math if he could afford to buy all of them. And he walked off with the whole stack of them. Now, you can buy cards wherever you can find them. I'm not going to judge. You know, especially now, like it'd be one thing if I knew for a fact this was at Walmart and it was at a local game store and it was more at the local game store and I walked by it at Walmart, but I knew it was at the local game store, I'd probably go buy it there because Walmart doesn't need my help staying open. None of the big boxes do. And local game stores may not need my help staying open, but I would rather, you know, pay a place that continues the hobby, helps people get into it, is a resource for people who need it, you know. And when I say need it, I mean, I guess emotionally, like need the community, need the Friday Night Magic or Commander Night or Lorcana Night or whatever you do to have, you know, some peace of mind and some happiness in this world. But when you can't find cards, you happen to accidentally run across a pack at a big box like I've done a few times and have opened on this channel a few times. Yeah, I'm going to snap it up because finding a Lord of the Rings set booster in my local game store doesn't happen anymore. And when it does, you know, I'll buy what they have that I can afford. When you see something like that pop up somewhere else, you probably need to grab it. But when there's a whole stack of them and you buy every single one, and by a stack, I mean there were more than 12 for sure. The guy had them like crab clawed in his hand. It looked like they were going to spill all over the floor. I don't know. That speaks to a different kind of mentality. People trying to buy all these up. And I guess with the collector boosters, I understand it. They're trying to crack a serialized chocobo and flip it and make a bunch of money. I don't condone it, but I understand it. The stuff disappearing to where so many people, you know, if it was just me, I could also just chalk it up to, well, you never bought Secret Lairs before. You were kind of, you know, already half defeat. I mean, you already basically told yourself you weren't going to be able to get them. So what did you really lose? And I didn't really lose. I would have liked a chance to buy them. I would have been fine with non-foils and no Gilded Lotus. I kind of just wanted the cool art and stuff. I don't need them enough that I'm going to spend any kind of money for them on the secondary market, because when they disappear, and so many people, it's not just me, like I was saying, you get on Reddit and get online and look at all the people talking about this in the YouTube comments and stuff, they couldn't get a hold of anything. You know, that speaks to the nature of the beast right now, which is big me, little you, me first, you never. I want to make some money off something. So, if the scalpers buy it all up and they put it online, and somebody out there who couldn't get it is willing to pay whatever the scalper wants for it, then, you know, I guess I'm the idiot. I can't really denounce that, because that's exactly the same thing that's happening in the last few months with all this stuff going up in price and people still buying it. That's how the price has gone up. People have continued to say with their dollar what it's worth. And if it's too rich for your blood, that's okay, and you have to be okay with that. I think that the fear of missing out factor has caused more than a few misguided, ill-timed, ill-conceived purchases on the parts of many people. And again, whether you're collecting it or playing with it, I can't speak to the investing side of it because I obviously don't know jack shit about that. But if you're collecting it or playing it, this is supposed to be fun, everybody. This is supposed to be a good time. And I'll say it again, I had a hell of a good time last week playing a pre-release at an LGS for the first time in over a decade. It was some of the best fun I've ever had with people I've never met before. And it's got me convinced to go back for the next one, for Edge of Eternities. And you know what? I didn't even care about it before, but I'll probably go do a Spider-Man or an Avatar release now because the experience was that much fun. So I guess the moral of this, I don't know, talking all this out, I guess the moral of the message is, if you're looking for cards, don't give up hope. We know some reprints are coming. It won't be the collector boosters. That is what it is. The collector boosters are a whole nother animal, I feel like. If you like Magic cards, if you like opening booster packs and playing Magic with your friends or with your enemies on Arena or whatever, you know, you'll be able to find some cards. I promise you'll be able to find some cards. And if you missed out on stuff, and it's really got you down, like, more than you think you probably should be, maybe, and this is not a judgment at all, but it's just a thought thrown out there, it might be time to rethink your priorities. A little bit. I said that kind of harshly. It might be time to sit down and think about why you feel like you're missing out, where the FOMO feeling comes from. And if it's really just, oh, everybody else has got it, well, does it even interest you? You know, I'm struggling to think of a good example, but you know, I wasn't even in tuned to what was going on when Universes Beyond started, and I missed a vast majority of it. The fact that there's even still Lord of the Rings cards out there that I can buy in 2025, even though the set's only a couple years old, it hugely popular, right? Everybody, I don't know people who are, like, I could probably find more people who don't like the Beatles than don't like Lord of the Rings for some reason. You know what I mean? So the fact that I can still find these cards 2 years later, and it's not easy, and I can't afford a collector booster, and that is what it is. I didn't even know anything about it, though, so can I really be mad that I missed out on it? Warhammer, Fallout, all this stuff that, like, yeah, it's cool. Some of it's downright awesome, and it's unaffordable to me. But, does that really matter? Could I not spend money on some other things and eventually save up and buy some of that stuff? Anybody could. And I guess that's my point. If it means that much to you, eventually you'll figure out a way to make it work out. And at the end of the day, if it's not, then you don't even have to worry about it anymore. So try to maintain some positivity in the craziness of sales and scarcity and scalpers. And if you got what you wanted, or your stuff is on the way, I hope you get everything that you were hoping to get. If you're struggling right now, I hope you get out of that struggle and you're able to get what you want to get, whether it's Magic or something completely different. And if you're a scalper, do us all a favor and go fuck yourself. Sealed packs are not for cowards. They're for warriors of light. Scalpers are cowards, hide in the shadows, and they will be found and they will be brought into the light by the warriors of light. And until next time, everybody, keep the faith, stay strong. Peace.